Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. What we have for you today are two top 5 decks, 3 brand new decks overall, including the number 1 deck. But before we get there, I'd like to announce the stream team. Since this channel started, people have been asking for gameplay on the channel, and while I don't have time for that, given my 2 other jobs and family, I have figured out an amazing solution. I'm very happy with the solution, and I hope you're willing to check it out. Because every single weeknight, a different great streamer will be playing the decks from these videos. Then the next morning on their YouTube channels, because everyone here has both a Twitch and a YouTube, there will be a YouTube video of gameplay for these decks. So if you want to see these decks played, you can see it in the evening of the same night they're released. And we're starting that tonight with Gregor2424. Check out Gregor on Twitch and YouTube, and Gregor will have gameplay from the decks from this video. Tomorrow it'll be Prashant trying out all the new cards for the new season with our decks. Then Wednesday we have Gaming with Flash X. Thursday, Zal Snap. Friday, Tucker. So you get a stream of them if you want to comment, if you want to talk, ask questions. This way you can learn to play the decks from some really great players. And you get a video so that you can refer back and figure out the best way to play them. See how well the turn-by-turn matches up. When it does and doesn't, this should work really great. Plus, to celebrate, if you're in any of these people's streams for both of the first 2 weeks, so if you're in Gregor's for the first 2 weeks in a row, Prashant's for the first 2 weeks in a row, etc., there will be next week a season pass giveaway on week 2. As long as you're in both week 1 and week 2, you are eligible to win a season pass. That is our extra 5 season pass giveaway here. Hopefully you check that out, but you don't have to do that to win a season pass. That's just my way to try and aim you to great content that will hopefully help you play the decks in these videos better. We are also giving away 5 Blink season passes right here on the channel. Today is the last day of this part of the giveaway, but you can go back to any video from Thursday to now and leave a comment. Each video has its own specific question. You answer that question, you're entered to win. So the comment for today is, who are you planning to check out from the stream team? Which of the 5 people, those 5 people being again Gregor, Prashant, Flash, Zal, and Tucker, which of these 5 are you planning to check out? Any specific reasons would be welcome as well. I think all of these are great streamers. They're all my friends. So I hope you enjoy it. The Twitter giveaway is also live. I'll be pulling winners hopefully for tomorrow, Tuesday's video. For Twitter, the YouTube giveaway winners will be announced in Wednesday's video because that gives people a chance to comment on this video. That was the huge announcement tomorrow. I guess I should have probably deleted that. We just did the huge announcement, but we've got another huge announcement. That one's about a week away. We're doing big things here on Snap Judgments. All right, our first deck is Yo Woody's Be My Valentine. This is a Valentina deck. It is great. This is Loki-less Loki. Did not think this would work, but it's got a really high win rate in the top 5. I believe KM has played it to the top 20. This is a legitimate top-notch list. Who knew? I also think a deck that looks something like this will be the eventual home of Arishem, the 7/7 that gives you +1 energy somewhere down the line. All right, so you can find Woody at twitch.tv/YoWoodyMJ if you want to watch Woody play this. Jeff Hoogland was the original version. Hoogland had the deck with, what's her name? Jean Grey in Elsa's spot. I tried it both ways. I think the Elsa is genuinely, I'm not trying to be rude, an absolute key to the deck. I think Elsa makes this thing work. It's what gives you enough power to really compete when you're seeing things going. It's the Elsa, the US Agent, and the Angela that give you the power to compete if the auto-generated cards don't go your way. For changes, Snow Guard for this deck can be Maria Hill. Mobius can be Cosmo or Shadow King, but you're going to need those other cards. Sorry. All right. So turn 1. First. 41 and 21 in the top 5 with a 65% win rate is huge. It's through the roof. This is absolutely incredible play from Woody, who's one of the best players in the world. But still, this deck for that win rate is just mind-boggling. So usually you have the Snow Guard versus Quinjet on turn 1, just like every Loki deck ever. I tend to prefer Quinjet by a little bit in this one because you have so many 3s, but it's the same concept as before. You don't really want to load your hand and stop drawing. If you don't have a 2-drop, if you don't have Angela Collector, Valentina, or Jeff, then you can drop Kitty, and then you can drop Kitty and one of the other ones on turn 2. That's the only exception to the Snow Guard or Quinjet turn 1. Turn 2 is Angela. That's generally better than Collector, which is generally better than Valentina, which is generally better than Jeff. Turn 3, you want to drop Elsa, Coulson. You'll know when it's right to Mobius or Luke early. Luke late tends to be better. There's no point opening it up to counters. And Mobius is the same basic concept, but sometimes you need to get Mobius out so that you can stop like a Ravonna type play, right? So Mobius is for specific matchups as the cat decides to whether he's coming towards me or away from me. Yeah, okay. Turn 3, Elsa over Coulson over Mobius over Luke. I like to get the Coulson out early if possible. Because I want to know what I'm doing with those extra cards. I want to know if there's something that's valuable that I want to play. But Elsa's so strong that I don't want to miss on Elsa if I end up doing the double 4 turn 2. There's a reasonable amount of the time turn 4 will be something like Collector and Jeff, right? And that's filling a lane with Jeff for whatchamacallit. Filling a deck with Jeff for Elsa, which is then also going to give you then if you play Coulson later, you're getting that extra value out of Collector, right? You can also do a 3 plus a 1 if you went Elsa, for example. Then you could do Coulson and Kitty, which is perfectly fine. Or you can do the Valeria card or a Coulson card if you got the right cards there. Turn 5, you're going to do basically the same thing as before. You're going to keep spreading. You obviously have more power to work with. And turn 6, U.S. Agent. That's really when you want U.S. Agent to come back. It's very often a 211 or more in this deck, which is just game winning and backbreaking. All right. You should likely, if you've been playing long enough, have most of these cards. These are meta staples, along with U.S. Agent and Valentina. So, should you get U.S. Agent and Valentina for this deck? Well, we're going to do a final review of Valentina before the end of this video. We also have 2 Valentina decks, because Valentina's finding homes and not Loki, which I think changes the equation just a little bit. But if you don't have U.S. Agent, I don't think you need Valentina. Should you go out of your way to get both? I tend to not think so right now, unless you're like very high collection level, in which case you probably already have the resources. If you're swimming in resources, absolutely. But like this deck really does want both of these cards for it to be competitive. Please hit that sub, like, and comment button. It really helps us grow. If you can watch as long as you want, like and leave a comment, we greatly appreciate it. We only have 2 questions of the day today because I am recording this early in the day because I've got Patreon exclusive videos to make and an article and a half to write. So Moazamali asks if the Infinite Leaderboard updates in real time. Yes, but it's janky. Sometimes players' names disappear from it. Sometimes it updates like literally immediately. Sometimes things don't register. It's a little complicated, but supposedly yes. Ro Mills wants to know about releasing all cards for the month at the same time. And that'd be cool, but that would be a complete rework of card acquisition, unless you're assuming that you're saying people should get up to like 16 spotlight caches for that once a month release, right? Like then we're totally reworking card acquisition. Should they do that? Yeah, probably at some point, but the game's been around for over a year at this point, and this is the first long period of time where they haven't changed card acquisition, so I'd bet you they leave it alone for a while. If you'd like your questions read out in tomorrow's video, please leave them in the comments. We are obviously completely out of questions, so if you leave some, you're probably going to make it. All right, FAK Crazy. This is the deck that he hit number 1 with. This is a mill deck. This one looks an awful lot like that Ordinary Harry deck from earlier this season, except it's not doing the Ravonna stuff. It's saying we're going to play a more honest game plan and just straight up go with the mill. You love to see the Daredevil. This is the thumbnail deck, by the way. You love to see the Daredevil because, like, being able to Dr. Octopus or Professor X with confidence is really all right, so we have twitter.com/crazymsnap if you want to check Crazy out. Crazy is, again, the current number 1 player on the Infinite Leaderboard, was number 1 last season, number 2 the season before, and has been close to, in or close to number 1 literally this whole season. Turn 2, Zemo and Gladiator are a must for this deck. For Cannibal, you can try Shang-Chi. That is way worse. And for Jeff, you can try White Widow or Nightcrawler, both of which are way worse because Professor X is in the deck. All right, so this is a 74% win rate, 43 and 14. That's through the roof absurd. One would have thought the meta would have moved on from this right now, but one would be wrong. So turn 1, Yondu is the only real play. You're saving Titania to try and clog them when ready. It's not going to show up on the turn by turn, because what you want to do with Titania is you want to play 1 card below curve, and if they're basically, if they're going to get to 3 cards in lane, you can use 2 cards to fill that lane with Titania, and then they can't put any more power there. It's a great way to win games. Turn 2, Cable. I generally like better than Daredevil, generally like better than Jeff. If you don't know what they're playing, Cable just offers a ton of value. Yondu, Cable, Zemo, or Gladiator just means they're gonna run out of cards if you play Magic. That kind of thing is really valuable. So doing that early gives you a lot of optionality. Daredevil is obviously very strong, and Jeff is something you can easily afford to do later. Turn 3, Gladiator is more or less equal to Zemo. If you went Yondu Cable, Zemo is suddenly better on turn 3. If not, I prefer Gladiator, and those are both generally better than Magic. Now, turn 4, I want to play Magic if possible, or I can do Absorbing Man only on Zemo. Those two plays are generally better than dropping a Gladiator at this point, but if I want a Professor X, then Gladiator moves up the rankings. Turn 5 is Professor X, Dr. Octopus, or Magic, and if you're playing Magic, obviously you can get out that Cable at the same time, or that Jeff at the same time, without any real problem. This is also a decent time to use Titania to lock up a lane. Professor X, if you can lock a lane and you have Daredevil to help you do so, if you could just auto in a lane, you should probably do so. And Dr. Octopus is a lot of power. It can empty their hand, and if their hand and deck are both empty, you're in really great shape. Turn 6 is generally speaking the same thing as turn 5. If you played Magic, you're going to still Professor X or Dr. Octopus. You're just playing a turn later. If it's the last turn, you want a Cannonball. Cannonball is like basically the main finisher for this deck. And then turn 7, you'll Cannonball and Jeff. Turn 6, feel free to Cannonball and Titania to like add 13 power and really lock a lane up. This is a really cool, powerful deck. This is the last day of Zemo, so I'm really happy to get to show you a Zemo deck that's seemingly going to finish in the #1 spot for the Zemo season. In Wednesday's video or Thursday's video, if it takes me an extra day, I will try my very best to figure out for you the deck that finished in the #1 slot for the Baron Zemo Thunderbolts season. All right, last chance review for Valentina. Valentina has more good homes than I thought. She's not a requirement. She is a very good card, though. I still think her best home is Loki, but she's still not a requirement Loki because Cable exists. If Cable were to be nerfed, and I'm going to be honest, I would not be utterly shocked were Cable nerfed at some point relatively soon, then I think Valentina clearly becomes best in slot. I think there right now is a reasonable argument against that. I think that the other decks that use her are very good, but a step behind the Loki list. Like that first list is great, but I still don't think it's as good as just like having Loki as a top end, because like having Loki in the deck means you can do all the other stuff, but also have Loki, right? Like there's no downside to having Loki in the list. You see what I mean? All right, so I don't think Valentina is a grab unless you are swimming in resources. I think she's a very good card who will continue to find her way into decks, somewhat surprisingly, but she's also a very high variance card who is relatively simple to replace. I think that is the theme for a lot of the season outside of Baron Zemo. We had Valentina, who is very strong but replaceable. White Widow, who is very strong but replaceable. Red Guardian, who is very strong but replaceable, and now finally with Red Hulk's nerf, we're at a place where Red Hulk is very strong but also replaceable. These are cards that are arguably best in slot, but not cards you must have to compete and play top decks in Marvel Snap, unlike the previous month where you like needed Mockingbird and Cannonball, and at the time, and needed Hope, right? So this is a different sort of season where besides Zemo, who's sort of his own archetype, the other cards were all cards that were just like, we are best in slot or we are close to best in slot, which means that you can use your resources on them, but you can also safely store your resources from cards that are harder to replace later. For like a random example of what I'm talking about, Phoenix Force is one of the is a very good deck, right? But it's significantly worse than a deck that Gladiator goes in. But Gladiator goes in a ton of decks as best in slot. Gladiator is clear probably best in slot right now. So you can argue it should go over Phoenix Force, but if you want to play a Phoenix Force deck, there's no way to do that without literally the card Phoenix Force. So like you need to get that. If you want to play specific archetypes, you can skip Valentina and most of these cards. If the archetype you want to play is Loki and you want to play Valentina Loki, you're going to have to grab it. But ultimately, I think this card is a pass at the end of the day, if only so slightly, which is literally what I've been saying for most of the cards this month. All right, our last deck is our last Valentina deck. This is the other really great Valentina home. The other really great Valentina home that is not simply brain. I wish my brain worked sometimes. That is not simply Loki. Thank you, brain. I greatly appreciate it. Valentina, you might notice, often goes with Luke Cage, and because she goes with Luke Cage, and because U.S. Agent is strong, she often goes with U.S. Agent. So I'm starting to consider that a little package. I'm not quite there yet, but we're on the track to that being 3 cards that you will very often play together and have really strong synergy. Also, really strong synergy with Luke Cage, Lizard, which is why that finds its way into this deck as well. And Shadow King's really good there too. Shadow King also says I can play Shadow King on my Valentina card, the card that Valentina gives me, and put it back to its normal power. Those are my basic combos there. The rest of the deck is your standard Revis Sarah style deck where it's trying to run these 4s for power and just sort of stay above you. I am genuinely surprised to see Red Guardian and not Gladiator, but this is trying to put its power in the 2-drops in Valentina, not necessarily the other spots. Plus, Red Guardian's a really strong tech card that often ends up being similar to Gladiator in power when it works well. So you can find Revis at twitch.tv/RevisMS, but if you want gameplay for this list, outside of checking out Gregor tonight, Revis also has a YouTube video on this at youtube.com/RevisSnap. Ms. Marvel is generally better, can be replaced with Omega Red. It's better, but it's fine. Red Guardian and Mobius can be Cosmo or Rogue. See also Gladiator, but I hate doing Series 5 cards as replacements. Valentina can be Jeff or Medusa. You can also make that just be Gladiator. And U.S. Agent is sort of required. I think U.S. Agent's really in a good place right now. Sucks that they buffed it when it did, but it is in a good place. It's nowhere near as good as Cannonball. Like, it's probably like, but it's goes in a lot of decks tier, and we're about to see a lot of negative power cards, which means Luke Cage will be propping up more, so maybe U.S. Agent just sort of disappears at that point. We're gonna have to see. All right, Revis is the Sarah King. The last several meta Sarah decks have been Revis. Revis is probably the best Sarah player right now, at least the best Sarah builder. So turn 1, you want to pass. Turn 2, Valentina over Lizard, because you want to see what card you have, so you can play it on turn 4. Turn 3 is whichever tech card makes sense, which is to say, is your opponent playing Affliction, drop Luke. Is your opponent trying to get a cheap death, or are they playing like negative, drop Mobius? Is there a really good Red Guardian target like a Naked Angela? Do that. Have they played a bunch of 1s and you'd like to catch up? Well, Killmonger is your play. If all else fails, I would tend to just drop Mobius, but it is a decision. Turn 4 is Ms. Marvel or the Valentina card, especially if you didn't already play that Luke Cage, and that's better than your turn 3 stuff. Turn 5 is Sarah, or generally speaking, a 3 plus a 2. And then turn 6 is a Shang and multiple 2s. If you've got Sarah out, you can play Shang-Chi for 3. Then you can play U.S. Agent Maximus and Shadow King, U.S. Agent Lizard, Shadow King, etc. Some combination thereof. And you go to town, putting an absolute smashing of power on the board and winning the game. This is a really, really cool list, and I'm really happy with it. I hope you try it out. Certain tiers of support on our Patreon come with on-air thanks each and every day. I'd like to say thank you to Abigail Gieslim, Mandatory Burnout, Cables, David G. Wingfield, Direwolf, LAB, ALA, Thor Newman, check him out on YouTube, Good Dog Gamer, This Is the Way, all the way from Scotland, Ink, Jane Everett, Getting Infinite again, J.D. McDonaldinho, our friend who needs to Twitch stream more, Caretix Lee, hi Caretix, Boy Ray, oh, Caretix, I know you left a question, but like your question needs an essay response, and yeah, I will get to it, I promise. Boy Ray, hi Ray, Pyrophoros, doing great things, The Goat Seeker, what's up Goat Seeker, Den Man Falcon, check him out on YouTube, Doku, Philip Rakovich, Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, Rob Silverman, The Bizza, X-Force V and Skippy G, Snap Judgment Season 1 League Champion Tommy Nyquist, Black Dahlia, The Great Kazoo, Jessica Gamble, Ryan Wood, Kev C. Hoda, we had a run of real names there, right? Luna Chris, Louis Antunes, Mod Supreme Models, Brian Kaufman, Tristan H. Martin, Fuzzy Dunlop, Spectrumix, Hoot, Matt H., DJ Mikey Hydrings, No Frickin' Flex, Ocularis, Craig Sterry, Pretty Damn Chill, Seamus, Spike Jones, Jonesy on YouTube, Two Ties, the Pirate King Tucker, one of our stream team, the homie Min, Rito in Disguise, check him out, and Gunny T, where the T stands for. Thanks everyone for participating in this month's giveaway. Alright, hopefully you had a really great time in this video. I know I had a good time making it. Time to do some more Marvel Snap content. I'll see you tomorrow with another Snap Take, and I've got like 4 articles coming out on Marvel Snap Zone, so keep your eyes there too. Peace.